Are you guys looking at firing Kathleen Kennedy or asking her to resign and promote somebody like Filoni or Favreau or both as a co-counsel?
Thank you for your question, George. We've been absolutely thrilled that we can have the kind of creative talent in our company, the likes of Kathy Kennedy to run Lucas. And we look forward to having Kathy directing the activities of the entire Lucasfilm organization for many years to come. Thank you for your question. Next question, please.
Well, nobody, and I mean nobody, can cut a fart in your face and tell you it's a summer wind like Bob Chapek at Disney. My God. Put a video out earlier this morning, just as kind of a quick one from the car. Been away for a couple days, just so busy this time of year. But God, yeah, I walked away. There was too much stuff going on this weekend. I hated being away. But I wanted to get to this Disney Annual Stockholder Meeting first. It took place today, noon Central Time. Was listening to it, and as expected, it's a pre-scripted affair, as really all of these things are. No surprises there whatsoever. You're designed to cut through, all the stuff, hit the high points, and move on. Again, as I think I've mentioned on some guest spots, Echo Base, and some places like that, I've talked about the big investors, the institutional investors, the mutual funds, money managers that own a substantial portion of outstanding Disney shares. Most of these guys have direct hotlines to guys like Iger and Chapek. They get their questions answered privately, off the record. They're not going to jump onto a phone call. And of course, as I've also said many times, it's Disney. I mean, and as much as any company wants to go out there and put on a happy face that everything is bright and cheery and going great, Disney is like that times 100. And of course, there were, as many of you have all seen by now, and I'm just getting around to being able to put a video together, there were a couple of spicy questions at the end of the call from a couple of stockholders. One about blacklisting. How is it that Gina was fired and Pedro, said the same kind of stuff or worse stuff, and nobody cared about him. And Bob Chapek gave the most absolutely rehearsed, pre-scripted, bullshit answer I've ever heard. I mean, there are some politicians out there that have been in Washington, D.C. for 40 years that would be jealous of that bullshit. That was absolutely amazing. Just garbage, just hot garbage. And it's one of those things that some, public relations firm and a lawyer get together and put together to just basically create a response that doesn't answer the question at all because he doesn't want to. But they obviously knew they were going to, they were going to get questions like that on that call, and they just wanted to have pre-scripted, pre-rehearsed answers to diffuse them. Honestly, I think it made Chapek look stupid by saying that, and I think that was only outdone by his response to another stockholder who asked about, will you fire Kathleen Kennedy? And he comes back with this giant, oh, she's this and that, and da-da-da-da-da. I've never heard such crap in my life. But what do we make of it? What does it mean? Well, at the time, right now, nothing. It really doesn't. And there's two sides, to this out there for people. One side is it's doom and gloom. See, he loves her. She's not going anywhere. The other side, a little bit more pragmatic, traditional business approach, looking at it as what else is he going to say? And that's kind of what I've been saying. And I'm not saying that she definitely won't get renewed. I'm just saying it doesn't look good for her because it's not just about the woke stuff. You still got to be able to sell it. And she sucks at selling it. And it sucks so bad that we got a f***ing rock this weekend with the High Republic. Geo, and I'm not going to go through all, it's the biggest joke on earth. But this is what this woman is pumping out right now. And Star Wars is not making any money right now. They can't sell young adult novels. They can't sell comic books. They don't have anything new coming on Disney Plus that's a major, major event. You got the Bad Batch happening. It's still an animated show. And there's a lot of people out there who just don't like watching animated shows regardless. They're not headline characters. They are going to be more for the esoteric fans of certain aspects and avenues of Star Wars. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. We don't have another big banger of a Star Wars show coming out for almost a year. That's a problem. That's a real problem. So we're going to see what that looks like going forward. But here's the two different scenarios I want everybody to focus in on and take away from this conference call. Number one, Chapek was being 100% dead serious. He is counting on Kathleen Kennedy to be there for a long, long time, and she's a creative talent powerhouse and blah, 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 blah. We can assume that that man is really that stupid. And that's fine. He may be. He may be so ingrained in woke cultural bullshit that he can't see that his most valuable purchase for Disney is going in the toilet and it's not making any money. That's fine. He can ignore that all he wants, but eventually the math and the finances of it are all going to bear out. Or you take the other side, which is what I've been saying. And I want to keep saying this until there is a definitive reason not to say this. And that is, he's got to put on a happy face right now. Because if you want to try to get Kathleen Kennedy to walk away peacefully and quietly and without any media backlash and you getting hung out to dry in the Los Angeles media conglomerates and the New York media conglomerates, because you're Disney and those are the worlds that you operate in, whether you like it or not, you have to play their game. And that game is walk away peacefully and quietly. You don't say anything bad about Kathy right now. You don't say anything about Kathy right now other than how wonderful she is and how talented she is. Meanwhile, the entire rest of the world knows better. I mean, Spielberg won't even work with her anymore, for God's sake. He just left Indiana Jones 5 because he hates the bitch. I mean, this is not a secret. It's probably the worst kept secret in Hollywood that people just don't like working with her. You look at what Jon Favreau did. He basically confirmed Spielberg's earlier comments in an interview years ago where he said Kathy could barely fetch a cup of coffee and she sucked at taking notes during meetings. She was always the woman in the room who was, interrupting people having discussions at creative meetings and coming up with the stupidest ideas that she had no business, spouting off to begin with. And then we see one of the episodes of The Gallery last year after the first season of Mando, and Favreau basically has to, okay, Kathy, we're going to go around the table, shut up. Look, she's obviously a difficult person to work with. If Kathy stays, I don't think Favreau does, and then Star Wars really dies. But for now, you keep peace in the House of Mouse, even if everybody knows that you're lying. But you're not going to go out in public and say anything. You're not going to give her lawyers anything to come back at you on. And then you write her a big, fat check, $50 million, $100 million, whatever kind of crazy-ass retirement package they're going to hand her to walk away peacefully and quietly at the end of her contract term in October of this year, whereby she will announce that she's decided to retire after 45 years of exceptional service. Disney will sing her praises. They will throw her a party. She will get a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Oscars, all that stuff. They are going to put her on a pedestal to make her go away peacefully. Watch. Okay? I still believe that's where it's going. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I could very well be wrong. I don't have any inside information. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you that I have my sources deep inside Lucasfilm feeding me. No, I don't have that shit. Okay? I'm not going to pretend to have that shit. That's not who I am. That's not what I do. I'm giving you my opinion as somebody who's worked in the financial world for 20 years, have some business experience, understand how Disney functions, and understand how a lot of companies would function in this predicament. And that is to save face and be quiet for now and get through the next 7 months or so at this point, and then try to navigate your way out of it. Now, if they keep her, Star Wars is done. Let's be honest. Disney Star Wars is done. Jon Favreau will probably not hang around because it's become increasingly obvious he cannot stand working with her, especially being stuck under her, at least to some degree, even though I still think he probably reports directly to Iger and Chapek. They obviously are having some problems with the third season of Mandalorian now that Gina's gone. We may not see a season 3 for another 2 years. Things are getting backed up. Favreau's other show with Rangers has gotten virtually tanked, which is why we got the news last week of Hera coming in, which, as I said in that video, I believe Hera was intended to be in there all along. It's just that they had to move to that one at this point because they had no other option. So, a lot of moving parts to this. But I'm not losing faith yet. I'm not. I'm going to wait until there really is reason to say there's just no hope. And if she gets renewed for another 3 years at this point, in that same position with that kind of power, bail. Just bail. And it's time to just drown all faith of anything good coming out of Lucasfilm ever again going forward, because it is toast. It is absolute toast. But again, keeping the faith, because what is Kathy working on right now? She's got these goofy books. Disney has got to be pissed. And look, this is one thing, and let me bring this. I should have brought this up earlier in the video. I want to show you this title screen. I found this very interesting. And what I wanted to get to, my final thought was, it's not just about what was said, it's about what was left unsaid. Chapek got out there and talked about theatrical releases. Talked about Raya and the Last Dragon. Haven't seen it. Really don't care about it. Not after what I watched Disney do to Mulan. They had a simple job. Take one of the best animated movies with one of the best animated characters that they had ever pulled off, and make it a live action version. And they couldn't even do that. They completely changed the character of Mulan. They changed it. It was just garbage. It was just pretty visuals, but the story was trash. It was just hot trash, and it was stupid. Apparently Mulan was like a superpowered superhero now or something. I don't know. It just, none of it made sense. So they couldn't even pull that off. So why do I want to go watch Raya and the Last Dragon? Frankly, I just don't give a damn. But they talked about Black Widow, and they talked about, another movie that everybody's been waiting for, Steven Spielberg's adaptation of West Side Story. And I'm thinking to myself, who is waiting for this? Who was asking for this, honestly? And no disrespect to West Side Story, but who was asking for this? It's like when they announced, they started talking about the Black Widow movie, and it's like, oh, this is the Marvel character that everybody has been waiting to see a movie with, and blah blah blah, Black Widow. And honestly, I know a lot of fans of Marvel, and over the last 10 years, I don't think I've heard of one of them say, "Oh God, I can't wait for a Black Widow movie." Nobody cares. I mean, it's a fine character, but it's not a character that can stand alone in her own film. I just don't think she's not a superpower character. But he talked about all these, and then said nothing about any of the upcoming shows on Disney Plus in either Marvel or Star Wars. And I thought that was a little strange, because I think if he had brought up the Marvel shows and talked about the specifics on the Marvel shows, as he had, specifics of what they were doing in the theme parks and when this was going to happen and that was going to happen, I think if he talked about specifics there, he would have been forced to talk about specifics when it came to Lucasfilm, and there aren't any. Or at least if he had talked about Marvel and had failed to talk about Star Wars, it would have sounded awkward. So I think that was a deliberate omission by choice to not go into details on Disney Plus shows other than what they considered, and these were like tandem theatrical releases where they're going to hit Disney Plus and they're going to hit limited or hopefully wider theatrical releases at the same time. So that was one big thing there that jumped out at me. And then if you look at that title card, again, you notice on there what each piece of Disney is represented by. Disney Animation Studios, Pixar Studios, Marvel Studios, and then Star Wars. Mando and Grogu in one block. And then you have Bad Batch in another block. Do you see Rey, Finn, Poe? Do you see any of the High Republic characters? I mean, talking about stuff that is currently in production or things that are about to come out. That is what's on that grid. Okay, for the most part, they're going over pieces of property, movies and TV shows that are either already on or imminent coming out this year. None of the High Republic stuff is in there. So when it comes to branding Star Wars, it's become very, very clear that the current branding for Star Wars is solely with the Favreau Filoni stuff. It is solely with things like Clone Wars, Bad Batch, Mando. That's where it is. And again, it's one of those things to where you kind of have to read between the lines and you see what they're putting out there. And then you add that to all the other things that we've talked about over time. Look, there's a lot of moving parts here, folks. So stay tuned. I'm sure we'll be getting into more discussion of this come this weekend or in the next few days with Coach and Nick, my boys on Echo Base. So anyway, I just wanted to drop this, and I'll have another video coming soon with some of the other stuff we've had in the last few days that have been cracking me up. We'll get to Leox Gassy in the next video. Promise you that. Take care.